welcome to the Boys Crypto Show. And man, what another great day we've had in the market. Some projects pumping more than others. And man, this week, just take a minute, man. This week, let's reminisce in the glory that was this week. A monumental bounce for not just altcoins, but arguably one of the weakest looking altcoins of them all, Ethereum, getting a massive bounce after Vitalik Buterin comes out and says, hey, you know what? Maybe I should do another update for the network. And Ethereum responded massively, pumping from about $1,800 up to about $2,400, the biggest altcoin in the game, stealing a large share of market from not only BTC, but from a lot of the other alts, getting one of the biggest. Can you imagine? No one would have convinced me that Ethereum was one of the bigger bubbles on this weekly chart if I hadn't looked at it myself. So man, Ethereum making a massive run, the number one meme on Ethereum, Pepe making a massive run, Sui doing okay, consolidating up here, and what I deem is likely going to be a flag. We're likely to chop around here for Sui going on into the day. I believe it was Sin Nasty Kid asked me about Veracity. I did see a tweet put out by Veracity. I think it was either Sin Nasty Kid or MH. I did do a little bit of a deep dive on Veracity, that massive sell-off action. This was the official statement that was put out by Veracity. I've been doing a lot of research today, diving on in. Oh, Bitcoin was supposed to be the first one over there. But yeah, Veracity, I did see this. It's over on their Twitter, pretty much saying that an exchange delisted them, a capitulating stop loss orders caused that massive wickage to the downside and back to the upside. So I know I said, hey man, like I would have to hear from the team, and this was the team saying, hey, this is a statement that we made. This is what happened during a period of low liquidity, right? If that happened after market hours, I can't say when that happened. I'd have to look at the chart, but man, yeah, Veracity coming out and making a statement to the public. That's exactly what you want to see when you have a kind of a candle that we saw yesterday when we were analyzing that chart. Just very, very interesting, very, very interesting. Sui doing well. Let's start what we do every single day, baby. Let's start with BTC. Oh, man, that kind of felt like it was kind of everywhere, right? Everywhere all at once. But, man, shout out to every single one of you guys here. April, Sin Nasty Kid, MH, starting it off strong in the chat. I appreciate you guys being here. How are you guys feeling today? Do you guys feel good about the market? Do you think we're going to get a little bit of a pullback this weekend? Or are we going to keep rocketing to the upside on a period of low liquidity, which could be very, very good for the bulls, given the momentum that we're going on into the night with? That's crazy. It's going to be a juicy weekend, everybody, and Bitcoin does not look like it wants to stop. Look at this beauty. I was looking at it on the 2 hour. I'm kind of trying to gauge this here as the different hourly chart are giving me little different mixes of signals here, and I'll show you what I mean. At first, on the hourly, I was seeing, oh, this kind of like shoulder, head, right, shouldery, right? And then as I zoom on out on the 2 hour and the 3 hour, it starts to flatten out here, and you get a little bit more of a clearer picture when you're looking at this the larger time frames. I think the 4 hour is looking the flag out. Where is my 200 moving average? Oh, it's all the way down there for the 4 hour because Bitcoin's had this massive pump. Imagine that. That's crazy, right? I remember when we were dumping, we were like, look how far up the 4 hour 200 SMA is, right? We were down here and we were like, oh, we got to get above that 4 hour. Crazy. I couldn't even see it on my screen there for a second. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So yeah, Bitcoin likely, in my opinion, throughout the course of the night to just keep flagging out here, right? We're trading in this range. We've traded in this range ever since we've left each other last night. Last night on candle close right here around, around 8 o'clock. We left it around 102,400, and we're currently trading at about 102,900, 103,000. And we've traded in such a small range, just about a $2,000 range, a little less than that, about a $1,500 range for the past day. Not too much, nothing too special for BTC. But on the smaller time frames, you know what's cool about this? When you go sideways, you start allowing your stochastic RSI oscillator to start resetting. So notice how we left off here and our RSI is trending down. We've trended down on the 2 hour and we're now oversold. This is telling me that there is likely going to be a move to the upside. Why? Because our momentum indicator says, hey, based off of current price action and volume flowing on into the market, a current high volume node forming here on the 2 hour time frame, right? We haven't gone this sideways in a hot minute since back here, right? So you're resetting on the 2 hour time frame, those stochastics. That's why we like to see consolidation. You want to see a nice pump to the upside and consolidation where price lets off, right? Buyers and sellers equalize, and then that gives you legs for that next move to the upside. This looks like a flag to me, and during a low liquidity weekend, I know it's dangerous to trade, right? It's a dangerous trading environment. I'm holding my trades open that I'm currently in, right? And the trade being that Sui trade. But we have to take a big deep breath, right? It's risky to get into a long right now going on into the weekend. That being said, you're kind of put in between a rock and a hard place, because I remember there was a weekend back in 2021 where the alts absolutely ripped over the weekend. Ethereum had a 30% move and alt took a massive rip to the upside that was never revisited. So are we going to have a weekend like that? You know, time's going to tell. Time's going to tell, and this weekend will let us know more as time unfolds. So it's really hard to say if getting into a trade right now is a good idea or not, right? If you're speculating on spot, I think we're still sitting at prices for these altcoins that are relatively fair, right? That are relatively fair. I think a $3 SUI fair, or a $4 SUI is very, very fair comparatively to where I think it's going. I think a 50-cent jupe is very, very cheap. Optimism looking good. Like, all these coins right now are currently sitting at what I believe are still very, very good prices. Getting Ondo at $1, yeah, sure, you could have gotten it down here at 83 cents, but a lot of people didn't have the sack to do that, right? And over the course of the year, like back here, you could have had it at 50 cents, right? Even at this most recent pullback down here at 75 cents. And a lot of people didn't have the sack to pull the trigger. So right now, you got to think to yourself, like, hey, is this a time where I want to start averaging into alts, or average more in the alts before the ship takes off without me? That's something that you're going to have to, think about. Yeah, I want to say think about yourself, but man, I'm just here to bring you guys, entertainment and information that you guys can use to make investing decisions. I'm not a financial advisor, but to me, I'm looking at this market and I'm looking at Bitcoin dominance and I'm thinking, man, this may be the last time. This may be the last moment, and any of these moments could be the last moment that we get into the alts at these prices. Ethereum at 2,400, people are like, wow, should I buy Ethereum right now? Well, why weren't people thinking of that sub $2,000, right? It took absolute sack to get in at those prices, and I'm not really buying the Ethereum narrative right now. I still haven't bought it. I think there's going to be a lot more money to be made in other projects in the game. Like in my portfolio, my altcoin portfolio is the reason I'm allocated to the assets that I'm in, simply because I believe those assets are going to outperform the rest of the market this bull cycle. So I'm kind of being pretty choosy with my altcoins, because I don't think all of them are going to be winners, right? Even here on Bubbles, you can see there's some losers out here. Leo token, DEX, DEXE, Virtual's coming down a little bit today, but that's been a big winner over the course of the month. Look at that, up 311%, something that I personally hold in my spot bag, right? So it's very, very interesting to see the redistribution of money in the market, and you can see that through the different sizes of the bubbles here. And even here on the day, you can see SUI right down on the day when a lot of the market is up. It's just comparing the last 24 hours of time, right? The last 24 hours of time, and SUI had a monumental run up. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of a cool off / consolidation, right? A little bit of a cool off / consolidation. This is SUI that I've been looking at here. I think there's going to be a flag consolidation, some sideways price action as we go on into the night. This 4 hour looking very, very good. Stochastics coming down, looking to reset. I'm just looking for a sideways trend here as we go throughout, preferably Saturday or so, Saturday night. I think we could see a breakout into this up, the 420, 440 region. I think that could definitely happen as we head on into Saturday night. This would be Saturday night at about 8 o'clock, and we'll be here together reanalyzing this, right? Saturday at 8 o'clock, we'll be right here on the chart, right? We'll be right here, like in this zone. So we'll see how that flag plays out, whether it does or does not, whether we dump out of the bottom of the flag, and we'll take that moment by moment here on. You keep up to date with me on my X too. I'll put out updates as I see them. It was not very active today on X. I was just doing a little bit of research and not too much to say, right? Not too much to say as we went sideways in the market. But Bitcoin looking good. Bitcoin looking to consolidate. And I'll tell you this. Based off the flag I'm looking at right here, we have 24 2-hour candles that are going to close this weekend. More than that before we get to next Monday's open, right? About 30 candles. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this right now. There is a possibility, and there's a real chance that we see the all-time high for Bitcoin this weekend. There's a chance. There's a chance, right? There's a chance that we get a massive move this weekend. And why do I say that? Well, not only do we have President Xi coming out from China, coming out from China to the White House. Any news, right? Any news coming out of the trade war that is getting settled with China is going to send ripples throughout the market, and everyone's going to be so optimistic about the market, especially after we just made this trade deal with the EU, that the market's going to absolutely fly. Bitcoin and crypto has outperformed the S&P 500. The NQ is really struggling right now, and Bitcoin trying to come up and push on its highs. The NQ didn't necessarily do as well today. Bitcoin and crypto have been absolutely screaming. I think this asset class is about to take off to the next level. All right, shout out to every single one of you guys in the chat. April, Nasty Kid MH, Michaela B, what's going on? You're still holding along on Sui, Nasty Kid, I'm right there with you, brother. I am still holding it on as well. Yo, April, you're spoiling my calendar, okay? Spoiling my calendar. Hey, you know, I was saying I'm not gonna go into that, April. You're trying to get me in trouble here on YouTube. I'll do it anyway. Here we are, right? And I don't know everybody's ethnicity and creed and how you guys view why is there not a White Male Appreciation Day? There's you know, there's African American Heritage Day. There was like this on the ship too when I was in the Navy. We celebrated everything. We celebrated, you know, LGBTQ Day. We celebrated Transgender Day. We celebrated, you know, all sorts of stuff. We celebrated all sorts of every race, color, creed, women's appreciation. Where's white people? Well, I don't know. I'm not racist, none of that or anything. I just don't understand where the basis is of these holidays. Where's white male appreciation? Where's male appreciation? We have Women's Day. Where's Male Day? I don't know. I appreciate everybody, every race, color, creed, you know, sex, religion. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't make a difference. But I was just thinking about that, and I made up the calendar. I made up the holiday there on the calendar, and I'm gonna celebrate tomorrow with my all-female household. It'll be a great day. White Male Appreciation Day, everybody. Coming tomorrow. Let your wives know. Make sure they cook for you. I'm just kidding. Don't tell them that. Okay, diving on into the charts, everybody. We looked at Bitcoin. The first thing I want to dive on over into is Bitcoin dominance. BTC.D. Bitcoin dominance. We've talked about this. We've talked about it not once, twice, but did we not talk about this every single day on the channel for the past how long? Forever. And there's a reason we were. We said anytime, any day, we could start playing this game of 200 MA dominoes to the downside for BTC dominance, right? For BTC dominance. This isn't indicative of Bitcoin and its price. This is alt season, baby. This is telling you whether you're in alt season or not. Looking at this weekly candle, this is a bearish engulfing candle that has engulfed the last almost 3 weeks of positive action here for Bitcoin dominance. I struggle to think that there would be you got a massive bearish engulfing candle. Very unlikely that we get a massive bullish engulfing candle afterwards. Even right here, it tried and we nuked to the downside. And that was back during President Trump's inauguration. I think this 786 got front ran here on the weekly, and we called it here, everybody. We called it here as we were coming up into this zone that I was going to be in the altcoins until we closed a weekly candle above that 786, and we got oh so close. Can we come up there? Absolutely. I don't think after a candle like this with the bearish engulfing candle on the weekly with the weekly bearish divergence that is flashing in our faces here, look at this weekly bearish divergence, and we've had it before and it got invalidated, but here we have a bearish engulfing candle on the weekly and weekly bearish divergence that has formed since this catoppling that we had back here during the election time frame, right? This bearish divergence suggests we cracked that low before that high, and I will tell you this, that is alt season. That will be alt season. This dump will be bigger, right, off of this bearish divergence, and that is likely to bring us down here to where we're going to start playing that ball rolling down the hill scenario. We get over 53.88%. This inverted cup and handle will be seen. I saw it on some of the biggest channels today. I have not seen this. I have not seen this chart on Bitcoin dominance from anyone. They must have been coming to the Boys Crypto channel off stream and being like, wow, look at this guy. He is calling out this inverted cup and handle that nobody sees. And I'm going to put that on my YouTube channel. It was just very interesting, I'm not, shout out to everybody that's in the game. But man, nobody was talking about this yesterday or 2 days ago. And now everyone's talking about it. It makes absolutely zero sense to me. Oh yeah, we were tracking it. No, nobody was tracking this. If you guys see anybody else that before the last 2 days, before May 7th, that has shown you this chart, let me know it in the chat. I want to see it because I just haven't seen this chart from anybody. This inverted cup and handle looking to dump to the downside very nastily out of this 786 front run retracement here. I think this is very, very likely to play out to the downside. I think altcoin season is here, everybody. This is what changes your lives. This is what makes you and can potentially make you a very wealthy person. And this is one of the spaces that could do it faster than any other space in the game, everybody. Everybody else in the game, shout out to you guys that are in the game with me and have reaped the rewards over this past week. Almost anything in the altcoin sector and in Bitcoin, baby, is in the green. You got to be happy if you're in the crypto space this week. Much deserved after the carnage that we've seen in the markets over the past few weeks and months. Oh. This is a giant cup. Good night. All right. Here we go. Let's dive on into the altcoins, baby. Let's dive on into the altcoins. Don't have anything in the chat. Sin Nasty Kids holding along. I'm gonna dive on in the Sui. You guys drop the altcoins you guys want to look at in the chat. We're gonna dive on in the Sui. Why do I keep diving on in the Sui? Well, Sin Nasty Kid mentioned it. Don't blame me. No, I'm playing. Look. Sui, I think this thing's going to be the hottest thing since sliced bread. I think we're looking at a Solana type run here. This is the weekly chart, and man, I think this thing can scream to the upside faster than anybody can imagine. We broke through the daily 200 SMA and retested it. We have a little bit of a daily bearish candle, right? But that's nothing compared to the candle that we got yesterday, baby. Yesterday, this candle about to close in about an hour and 42 minutes. The bears are not there. The bears are not strong. And you know what I noticed here? This wick came down to this previous resistance, almost resistance there, broke above, and now support level, right? That support sitting at about $3.83, and that looks really, really juicy to me. This level has been confluence before. Resistance, came down support for this massive bullish hammer candle. So it's not confirmed to me that this is a support resistance flip. But these wicks do tell a little bit of a story that, hey, we struggled to get above this zone before we got above this zone, and it was respected. So there's buyers in this region here above this massive bull flag or bullish bullhorn that did break out here on the daily, right? On the daily. So that looks very, very good for continuation to the upside. The measured move of this flag takes you all the way up here to about $5.06, revisiting almost the highs, baby. Almost the highs, and I think it can happen very, very quickly. You crack the highs for Sui, I'm telling you, you're going to see FOMO like you've never seen before in this space. You guys remember, I don't know if anybody was here, but I think everybody here, is old enough to remember when Bitcoin made the first run to 20K, what it was like? Everybody and their mom knew what the price of Bitcoin was. It doesn't even matter if they're in this space. What's Bitcoin? Should I buy Bitcoin? Is at $20,000? But what few people knew was that it was at just $1,000 a couple months prior, right? So the monumental run of 2017 is kind of ringing in my ears for altcoins, and I'll show you guys why. Let's pull up the total 3 chart. So we're out of our box remembrance. That story's gone. It's done, right? It's done. We were here. We had our opportunity, right? And you're breaking above the daily 200 SMA. That is going to be one of the best candle body closes that we've seen above the daily 200 SMA. Almost a full body right there. I'd like to see how tomorrow closes. And this weekend we could get a massive squeeze. Look at the VRVP. Look at the VRVP, how perfect it's been. This is the high volume node right now. This is it. We're right there. We get above that, we're going to gap up very, very likely to 933. Isn't it crazy to believe that outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, about $100 billion has been added to all the altcoins outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum in 2 days? That's crazy. I think this space is going to go monstrous. I think there's going to be a monstrous run here soon. And now I'm looking out. I'm zooming out, and here's what I'm seeing. So when I zoom out here, I'm speculating on this, and I know this is a little, I know people are going to think this is a little bit of a stretch-a-rooney, but I'm trying to gauge my way here into where I think these altcoins can go. Unlike Bitcoin, the altcoins have not revisited and broken their all-time high, right? That's sitting here at about $1.13 trillion. To me, right, and excluding this wick, we have a giant shoulder, and this is speculative, right? This is speculative head, and this would be a right shoulder right here. I think this is very likely to play out to the upside, and this shoulder, and I know this shoulder isn't fully completed right here, but this shoulder head, right shoulder. It's not a complete pattern, but it gets the basis the same. We have a lower high, a lower low, a higher high. Then we come up, we have an equal high, and then we have a higher low. And this is on the weekly. This could take us all the way up to $2 trillion. That's a 3x for your average altcoin. I think this is very, very likely to happen. And look here, look what happened here. I want to show you guys this too. Let's zoom on out to what happened in 2021. How we even got here. Did we have a double top kind of scenario? Yeah, sure. We could say that. Let's zoom on in here. This was the altcoin market prior to, 2021. And you come up, you tested it high, and you come back up and you retest that high. And you had a little bit of a stall out there on the weekly. You had that break above and the retest, right, of that prior high. We haven't gotten that yet. We got up to the prior high and rejected and made a nice, inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder / cup and handle that you guys see, cup and handle, right? You could argue that this was the handle, but I would say I take the bigger picture and go to the equal high / slight higher high that we did put in. I think that once we break this high, we are going to go on such a FOMO like parabolic run for these altcoins. It's going to make everybody crap themselves. It is going to be like this box remembrance, I'm telling you guys, is going to be history here for this channel. This is what's going to make us special, right? We put this on the chart and we locked it, right, to where we were averaging into the altcoins before we were speculating on this gigantic move. The last time from the lows to the highs was a monstrous 43x for the altcoins. Is that going to happen again? I don't think necessarily that amount of money is going to flow into the space, but I will say this, from the lows to the highs, even if you got a 10x, from the lows, you're looking at a monstrous altcoin market sitting up there at about 3-4 trillion. You'd have to, right? From the lows of 10x from 329 would be 3.29 trillion. That's speculating, right? Just based off of where I think the highs can go. I think this thing is just getting started, and I think we're going to come up, test the highs, crack the highs, retest the highs. We're going to come up here, fiddle around here, maybe make a bull flag, break out, retest, and then go for a monstrous, life-changing bull run. This is going to take time. This isn't going to happen tomorrow, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time. Right, everybody? So in the long term, in the longer picture, that's where I'm seeing the total 3 altcoin market go. I think a lot of these alts are in their very early stages. And it's hard to judge, right? The newer technologies. We have alts that haven't been here last year, right? A lot, and I don't think everything's going to be a winner, but a lot of my altcoin portfolio consists of coins that are about a year to 2 years old. They haven't seen a cycle before. They haven't seen a bull run before, like Sui, Virtuals. You could argue even, let's see, Render was back here in 2021. But look at the move here for Render. Even if Render retests the highs, you're sitting at a $5 Render. Where can Render get to? $30, $40? I think it's likely. I think it could happen for some of the hotter assets here in the game. And isn't that crazy, that trade idea that we put out here? Bang, baby, bang. Look at that to the upside for Render. I forget when we put this trade idea out. Was this a 786? This was a 786 retrace, was it not? 618, 786, 618, get in at the 618, and boom, using the 786 as a stop loss. I forget what we were doing when we were looking at that. But whatever we were talking about at that point looked very, very juicy at the time. Got it, and boom. Look at that rip to the upside for Render. I think there's more in store for Render as one of the hottest AI plays in the space. And even on the 15-minute time frame, Render looking a little hotter than the rest of the market. Look at this here, ranging here after this massive cataclysmic run to the upside. This range right here, you could view this as a flag. You break out of here conservatively, you can reach up to about 539. I think this weekend may be that weekend that we've been talking about for a lot of the altcoins, baby. For a lot of the altcoins, I think that this is going to be potentially, whether it's this weekend or next weekend, I'm going to put it I'm going to put it out there. I think it could be this weekend. Would it not align perfectly with President Xi coming to the White House? Why would he be coming here unless he's going to talk about trade? And if for some reason they come up, the White House and China come up with a trade deal, you're going to see the altcoins literally melt up this weekend. We will likely, in the event we got a trade deal, I'll call the all-time high for Bitcoin this weekend. I'll do it, and I'll do it with confidence. On low liquidity with news like that, it can happen. It's crypto. Anything can happen. And I'm telling you, these altcoins will melt up like hot knife through butter. Resistance levels, in the event we get news like that, gone. Everything's going to rip to Valhalla, and Valhalla is like Viking heaven, I think, right? I think I used that word right. But yeah, everything will likely rip massively to the upside. I'm not trying to shill hopium or anything, but I've seen a lot of bearishness in the space today, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? We have President Xi coming out. They're like, it's a trap. It's a trap. We have President Xi coming out to make a trade deal potentially." That would be crazy, and that's speculation. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. But if that does happen, right, in the event that does happen, even if it's not probable, in the event that it does, imagine all the shorts it would wreck and how many people it would price out of the market. Because there's a lot of people that are on X right now, on Twitter, and they're saying, should I buy altcoins right now? And the truth to be told, I have no idea. I'm not in your position. I'm not positioned. I'm not in position. I don't know what I'd be doing. What would I be thinking if I wasn't in position right now? It's either the risk to getting in right now is so high comparatively to last week. And when we were inside our box of remembrance, and now that we're outside of it, the downside risk, right? The downside risk to being outside of this box of remembrance here. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. We'll pull up the box of remembrance. You get into an average altcoin and somehow we capitulate, right? Stop loss is down in here. You have an additional 13% risk to the downside comparatively to anybody who's got inside of our box of remembrance, and especially comparatively to the lows. If this is the local high, and I'm not taking that off the table, if this is a local high coming in, which I don't think it is. I think we got that in shoulder, head, right shoulder, boom to the upside. I think there's continuation coming. There's a lot of bullish news in the space, but the downside risk is relatively high, especially if you're diving on into leverage. You come back down here one more time, right? Or even if you come do a 618786 retest on your average altcoin, looking to come down a little bit from the highs here, it's about 7%. That liquidates anybody above about 11 or a 12x leverage. Are people willing to dive on in at these prices right now? I'm glad that this community and we are not in that situation. Not a call I would like to make, baby. Not a call I would like to make. That's the purpose of TA and what allowed us to get in at these juicy prices in our box of remembrance, baby. So shout out to all of you that have been following along with me on Twitter and on this stream that have caught that juicy reversal. All right, let's dive on into the chat, guys. Let's dive on into the chat. Man, I'm excited too, Nasty Kid. I'm with you, brother. I'm excited too. I'm pumped up. I wake up in the morning, I check my phone, and when I see all green boobles, baby, when I see all green boobles on the chart, man, it makes me want to start screaming, but I can't do that because my lady's sleeping next to me, and she would strike me, and I don't want that to happen in my sleep. So holding long for Suis and Nasty Kid, absolutely. Took a long on Jasmine late last night for 15x. 48 bucks in there, man. Heck yeah, get after it, brother. Get after it. Let's see. Let's pull up Jasmine. I'll take a look at it, brother. I appreciate you sharing your trade with everybody, man. Sharing your trade with everybody. That takes some sack, man. That takes some sack. Not everybody has the confidence to go out there and be like, I placed this trade. I got in at this price. This is my stop loss, and this is where I think we're going. Takes some sack to do that. It really does. People laugh at people for that kind of stuff. Oh, that's a ridiculous idea. Yeah, see, like that, having that confidence to be like, I know what I'm doing. I got in for a reason, right? Having a reason, getting behind it, and having a clear trading plan. Man, if you could do that, you're ahead of 99% of people in this space. It's crazy how much gambling there is in this space. It really is, especially in the meme coin market. It's absolutely wild. All right, Jasmine. All right, so you said you got in at 0.01766. And I'm looking at it on the perpetuals chart. It may be a little bit different. 0.01766, baby. Yeah, let's dive on in. We'll put it there just for a whoop. 0.017599. Close enough, right? Cool. For 15x, 48x, 15x, you get liquidated about what, 7%, right? 7%. We'll put that as a stop loss. That's below the 1 hour time frame. And you're going for 23 cents, right? For 23. So right off the back, right? If this is your trading plan, I applaud you, man. This is good risk reward. How many trades does Sid Nasty Kid need to win to be profitable? He needs to win 4. He needs to win 1 out of 4. He needs to win 1 out of 4 to break even, right? So if he wins 2 out of 4 or 50% of his trades, then he sets them up like this every time. That means he's an incredibly profitable trader, even though he only wins 50% of your trades. You're not going to win every single one of your trades and having a risk-reward rate. Like, if his risk-reward ratio was like this, right? Like 1-to-1. Like, or 7, what is it, 7% of the upside? Yeah, 1-to-1. If it was something like this, he would have won the trade. But if he takes his next trade and it loses, then he's back at 0, right? Like, he's back at 0. So having this allows him to lose the next 2 trades and still be like, man, I'm still in profit. That's awesome. Now, it's hard to get your head around that sometimes. But already a great risk to reward, 4-1. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. And that's if your stop loss is at liquidation. I'm just kind of guesstimating on the liquidation right there. All right. So Jasmine, to me, as I look on the weekly, it doesn't move until it does, right? It doesn't move until it does. And man, when Jasmine moves, it can massively rip to the upside. This was a 148% pump in 3 weeks. This was a 4-week 253%er from the bottom here. Just in 4 weeks, you had a 405% gain, and those are all spot. We're talking about spot, ladies and gentlemen. So that just says the power that Jasmine has when it starts moving to the upside. So right now, you're playing 200 MA dominoes to the upside for Jasmine. Looks like to me, potentially forming a flag, right? Like BTC, like Sui. A little bit sloppy here. A little bit sloppy here, if I do say so myself. But I would put this, right, as your horizontal zone. You haven't closed a candle above this zone yet, so that would be where I put my... Yeah, I would look for a range here, brother. I would look for a range here. After a move like that, I would look for a range consolidation. Buyers and sellers to equal out. As you notice, this high volume node is going to start creeping up. You're going to see that point of control start to form, and you want to maintain above it. You maintain above it, you can break out of this range and look for higher prices. That would look very, very good to me, man. Woo! That would look really, really good to me, brother. Yeah, so shout out to you, man. Getting into Jasmine. At this point, Sin Nasty Kid could do this. He could take his stop loss, put it at break even, and what's his risk? Nothing. Zero. None. Zip. Nada. Maybe a little bit of a fee, which is pretty much nothing, right? Pretty much nothing in comparison to what he's trying to make on the trade with the 4-to-1 risk-reward ratio. And even if he just took these 4-to-1 risk-reward ratios and he just took the fee loss, right, in the event that he broke at break even, that's next to nothing comparatively to your trade position, as long as you guys know what you're doing with margin. So yeah, that looks very, very juicy. And you're going to pay higher fees with higher leverage. 15x, in my opinion, right, you're dealing with like medium leverage right there. That's not low leverage, but it's also not high leverage either. High leverage to me would be anything above 20, 25x, and that would be more for scalping strategies. But this looks really, really good. I think this can move to the upside, man. I'd look for a range here. Stochastics are reset. Looks very, very good. RSI is back in fair value right here. They get a little bit of bearish divergence, right, which did allow you to get that little bit of a pullback here. You can see it right here. Right here, you had that bearish divergence, that swing up, saying that you break this wick before you broke this one, and that bearish divergence did play out, and now you're resetting. You know what's cool? You know what's cool to me? I'm going to clear this out, man. Keep this chart in your mind. I'm going to clear this out, but let me show you something that's really, really cool. Oftentimes, bearish divergence, once they plays out, you will be left with something like hidden bullish divergence, right? The hidden bullish divergence here, you have a swing up on price action while you have a swing up on price action while you have a swing down or a lower low created in the RSI right here. And that looks really, really good to me, suggesting that before you crack this low, you're going to crack this high up here at the wick. That gives me further confluence that I think this thing's going to move further to the upside, brother. I think this thing's a good trade. I like where your head's at when it comes to your risk reward ratio. Are you going to get up to 23? I think you're at least going to get up to crack this wick, man, at about 23.06701. 06701. Oh, you might be trading on 16701. Yeah, I think you're totally fine, brother. I think you're totally fine. This hidden bullish divergence is telling me, this hidden bullish divergence essentially says you're going to crack this high likely before you crack this low, and that hidden bullish divergence protects you, brother. On the 1 hour time frame, that's not a time frame to joke around with, and you're going to start seeing it on the 2 hour as well. Let's see what the 2 hour gets. Yeah, you have it on the 2 hour as well. See the bullish divergence here? You have a low, and then you have a lower low created, right? And it's kind of stretching here. A lower low created on the 2 hour time frame while you're making a higher low on price action. So that's looking really, really good to me, brother. I think this hidden bullish divergence is going to carry you further to the upside. Again, it's the weekend, a little bit more risky trading, but I think these alts can massively fly. I think these alts can massively fly. All right, diving on in. You're in the Jasmine long too, MH. Shout out to you, man. Hey, everybody in Jasmine, baby. Everybody in Jasmine. What? You guys didn't let me know. I'm just playing. But yeah, Jasmine looked really good for continuation to the upside. That hidden bullish divergence reset stochastics on not only the 1 but the 2 hour time frame. What's how the 4 hour looking? The 4 hour looks like it wants to come down, but you can see here on this entire move to the upside, you have been up here on the stochastic RSI. Look at this. You've been up here in the stochastic RSI essentially for the duration of this entire move. You can get pinned up here in the overbought region. I'd like to see that blue line curve back up to the upside, which would, in the event that you got this push to the upside off of this 1 hour hidden bullish divergence. I like what I'm seeing for Jasmine, and I'm speculating on higher prices here in the near term. This wick likely to crack before these lows here, sitting about 17.526. It looks good to me, guys. Looks really, really good to me. I'm telling you guys, and if you're in any altcoin, I'll tell you this. I got to tell you guys this. If you're in any altcoin, the other chart you got to be looking at is this Bitcoin dominance chart, right? You'll notice, right, on the smaller time frames, look at this start to roll over. This tells me, this is telling me, this is painting a picture, everybody. This is painting a picture. Look at this shoulder, head, right shoulder. Dominance is cooked. Dominance is cooked, in my opinion. You got a little bit of a, let's see if we can see it on the 30-minute time frame. 15, you can kind of see it. I like the 30. The 30 looks pretty clean. Look at this, everybody. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, slanted to the downside. Looks very, very likely breaking the neckline there, and you're falling further here for Bitcoin dominance. You could also take that as a flag that broke to the downside. Let me clear this out and show you guys what I'm talking about, right? You could also take this as a flag that got cooked to the downside. Look at this here. Man, this feels good. I know, guys. I know. As an altcoin holder myself, this feels good. This is what happens to charts like this. You flag out to the downside. You're going to flag out to the downside until you don't. And are we going to go straight down? You know, on Bitcoin dominance, history would say, yeah, you know, history would say, if you guys don't think this is straight down, I don't know what is straight down. So alt season could happen. Like, I think it's going to be like this. We're going to get a couple weeks, a mini alt season, and then Bitcoin's going to stabilize, right? Maybe Bitcoin goes on a little bit of a dump, so altcoins stabilize, some money rotates back to Bitcoin, and you form a flag, right? Whether it's on the daily or the weekly. And I'm telling you, once that flag breaks to the downside and you crack that daily, and well, yeah, the weekly 200 MA here, but once you crack that daily, that's alt season, baby. You crack that daily 200 SMA and you're flagging underneath it. You could not ask for a better scenario for alts in this situation. Look at this beautiful flag that happened back here in 2021. Something like this is brewing, and I think it's going to happen. And you know what's crazy? Alt season didn't really even start to retail until we cracked this low right here. But we're here. We are here. We are right here, everybody. That's why I'm screaming and shouting. Like, we are here. This is where we're getting in. This is where the Boys Crypto community is getting into the altcoins before this giant retail flood of money comes into this space. Because retail essentially, in my opinion, is out. A lot of people have quit. A lot of people are not in this market anymore. And can you blame them? No, but the market's going to wreck them for that decision. Look at this daily. We are engulfing weeks. We are engulfing weeks. The last time we were down here for Bitcoin dominance was April 14th. That was about a month ago. In 2 days, we've taken that back from Bitcoin dominance. The weekly looking amazing with that bearish engulfing candle. We could see even further downward price action here. These candles can get massive. Reversal candles. You guys saw the candle on Ethereum, right? Does Ethereum not look like the inverse of this? Ethereum. This looks like the Ethereum chart right now. Let's pull that up. Ethereum. And I know we don't often talk about ETH. And I publicly said, hey, my money's not in Ethereum. My money's not in Ethereum. But shout out to you if you're an Ethereum holder and you caught this move, baby. You caught this move off the low the last 2 days. Look at this. Eating up all the price action since March 2nd. About 45 days of price action eaten up in just less than 48 hours. About 47 hours of price action for Ethereum. This looks like the altcoin chart, does it not? We had a constant uptrend, right? And I know we're talking about on the daily time frame here back from December. But once this downward pressure, right? And in the case of Bitcoin dominance, it's that upward pressure, right? Once it cracks, you could see candles like this, very violent candles to the upside, signaling a reversal. We are potentially right here for Bitcoin dominance, right? On this Ethereum-like move. I think it's very likely. I think it's going to come very, very quickly. I think a lot of people aren't even going to be paying attention, baby. Why? It's the weekend, right? It's the weekend. Everybody hanging out with their family and kids. I think it's the perfect recipe for a giant short squeeze to the upside. In Ethereum's case, what do you got? Shorts from the strategic reserve announcement news right before China tariffs. And then you have all these layered shorts to the upside, likely all the way back to $4,000. I'm going to say it right now on the channel. There is a very real chance, and I've seen it before, and I know I'll see it again. There's a real chance that Ethereum takes a 20-30% run from here, and we touch $3,000 this weekend. I'm going to keep that on my radar. The daily 200 SMA sitting about 2,700. You crack that. Imagine if we're sitting at about $3,000 over the course of the weekend. In 4 days, how everybody's sentiment would change on not just ETH, but the entire altcoin sector. If this happens for Ethereum, I think dominance will continue to roll, and I think the altcoins will continue what I believe is going to be the biggest bull run we've ever had here in history. M2 global money supply screaming to the upside. The recipe for a giant alt season is right here, and we've called it here on the channel. Shout out to you guys for being here with me and sticking with these gains. All right, here we go. Diving on in. Yeah, Jasmine got the stop loss. Cool. MH called the coin. Called the coin. You say, yeah, perfectly, man. I appreciate you. Market looks so good. Just had to jump in for that front run. I don't blame you, man. Hey, and that happens. A lot of people sit around waiting for 786s. And you know, whenever I place trades, I like to place it just a little above the 786s. If I know a lot of traders have buy orders there, the bounce potential is very, very high. I'll do the same thing with the 618, just a front one, just if even it's just a half or a sliver or a quarter of a percent. I'll take that front run any day of the week because I know I'm catching right before. If there was a line of soldiers with me, I'd like to be standing right at the front. I'd like to be the first one to get some of that heat, baby. They get some of that heat, and then the soldiers catch and we push forward. And that's a bad example because the first guy in the army gets, gets absolutely annihilated. But we're not planning on getting annihilated, baby. We're not planning on getting. You guys get the reference. You get the metaphor. You get the metaphor. I think that's a metaphor, a synonym, the synonym or metaphor. All right, everybody, that covers all the coins there in the chat. Let's look at fear and greed real quick. I haven't looked at that today. Fear and greed, baby. How are we sitting? So this closes in look at the greed, man. Back up in 73. This tells you, hey, this isn't the time. Last month was the time, and our box of remembrance was the time to average in your favorite projects in the BTC. If you ever see this, let this be a lesson to everybody who did not purchase any coins when this was screaming in extreme fear. It takes Shaq. But if you purchase in extreme fear, historically, this has been one of the greatest times to accumulate your favorite altcoins, your Bitcoin, and any of your favorite projects in the space. You could use this in the stock market as well. I did want to take a little peek at the NQ, right? And historically, you know, Bitcoin and crypto has traded with the NASDAQ coming up and pressing on that daily 200 SMA. A little bit of a shoulder head, right shouldery situation, but I'd like to see it flag out a little bit here over the course of next week. And we have to keep in mind, that this candle closes. This candle closes here on the daily, or did close here on the daily. You're gonna get a CME gap right from this candle right here, from this candle, or Thursday, Friday, from about where we stand right now. And this is the futures chart, so it's gonna wiggle around here over the course of the next couple of hours. But this is where we're likely going to end up over the course of the weekend. A beautiful flag can form here on the NQ. The NQ rips. And isn't it crazy? Donald Trump, did you guys see what Donald Trump said today? Or yesterday? He said, and I'm not going to quote it, but I'll paraphrase. He said, and he said this directly. He said, you better go and buy stocks now. This thing's going to be like a rocket ship to the upside. And when Fed Chairman Jerome Powell cuts rates, if he cuts rates, that's going to be like jet fuel on the fire. That's what he said. If that's not market manipulation, I don't know what it is. I have no idea. I don't know what market manipulation is if that isn't it. But who cares, right? It's in our favor right now to the upside. So that was absolutely crazy. If you guys did not watch that little press conference yesterday, it did give a lot of optimism in the optimism returning to the market, right? Not just the crypto market, but NQ and the NASDAQ. Isn't it nice to see, like, over the course of the last few days, crypto's gotten a massive bounce, and NASDAQ is sitting well off its highs here, about 10% off its highs. Bitcoin's closer than that. Bitcoin's closer than that, doing much better, in my opinion, than the stock market. Is this rally just a failed bounce? Well, you know, unlike Bitcoin, it still has its 786 to get over, right? You breached the 618, you're sitting right there. You're still in the golden pocket right here in the likely area for a lower high to form on the NQ. If we were going to end into bear market territory, you don't want to see that on the NASDAQ because that will likely capitulate over in the Bitcoin in some way, shape, or form. But BTC, baby, we could pull this out here on the daily. We could pull this out here on the daily. And are we past the 786? I think we are. We are. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. We closed above the 786. That is exactly what you want to see for BTC. Overcoming that area, this is where the stock market's sitting right now. And BTC ripped through this area that where the next likely area for the lower high was to come in past the high volume node. We talked about the ball rolling down the hill scenario, did we not? We said, hey, once we get over this high volume, I remember on the stream, it was like right during the stream, we started to roll, baby. We started to roll. And we said here, we said, hey, remember the ball rolling down the hill scenario as it always has been, right? Look at here. Look at the last time we rolled this way down the hill, right here, right? Look at that massive drop to the downside. You can have massive drops to the downside, but you could also have melt-ups to the upside, right? Squeezing the shorts, squeeze the longs, squeeze the shorts. And this can very easily lead to all-time high territory this upcoming weekend. I will say this, in the event that we see an all-time high come in this weekend, I cannot say to you guys, right, once you enter blue skies breakouts, it is a lot harder to trade, and not just to trade, but when you're looking for a short, it's hard. Right? Because you're going to be looking at the smaller time frames and betting that that's the top each and every single time. When you reach those blue skies breakouts territories and you're above every single 200 MA, which we currently are for BTC, are we not? Above the 2, above the 3. When you're above all these 200 MAs, you have severe strength to the upside, right? And we may be below like some of the 5, right? Some of the smaller ones. But you know, these 200 MAs are very, very serious and can catapult you to the upside, right? Look at this. This is the 15-minute time frame. The all-time high daily close is right here. The all-time high sits up here, right? And this was a wick. We have not spent hardly any time above 106,000, hardly any, right? Even on the daily, right? Above 106,000. We didn't have a single candle body close at above 106,000 yet, and we are $3,000 away. Bitcoin can do that by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. It can happen. It can happen. Just speculating, right? A little bit of a flag. I'm just putting that scenario there on the table. And I know everybody wake up like, that's crazy. But I know that it's possible for this asset and what this asset could do. Reset stochastics. We creep up back up here in the overbought region. We could definitely get above 106,000. And we could close candles up in here this weekend. We do that. We close a daily candle above this zone. I don't care about the wicks. To me, that is a all-time high break and a blue skies breakout for BTC. Can we see wicks up into this range? Absolutely. Well, I want to see a daily candle close. You see that? And I promise everybody, the likelihood, I would say a 99.99% chance of continuation to the upside out of FOMO and extreme greed will come into the market. We have room to go on the fear and greed index, baby. We are in greed, not extreme greed, up here in the 90s. Oh, that's when it gets frothy, baby. That's when it gets frothy. All right, here we go. Diving on into the chat. Sid Nasty, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you and everything you do for the channel, man. You're an absolute legend. All right, Kaito, let's dive on into it. Kaito, one of the tokens that Sid Nasty Kid did put on our radar not too long ago. And, you know, before I even pull up this chart, I haven't looked at this yet. I'm going to say it's pumping, and here's why, right? The narrative of Kaito, it is pumping here on the weekly. What about the daily? Yeah, it's looking really, really good. Why is this coin pumping? Because this is the AI internet of crypto, right? Aims to not replace Google, but be a better Google search engine for crypto. Is that narrative going to take off? I couldn't tell you, but what I could tell you is we've given the recipe right before here on this channel. We said, hey, when alt season starts ripping, baby, you can expect this thing to do some massive damage, right? Because even if it takes a sliver, right? And retail's not even here yet, man. Retail's not here. People aren't Googling, oh, price prediction of this, price prediction of that. Okay, maybe they started, but the masses don't know about it yet. The masses don't know about it. When does everybody think that the masses, what just happened to my chart? I have no idea. So when are the masses going to dive on in? You'll know because Jim Cramer is going to start talking about the altcoins. The news networks are going to have it out. All the big players, once all the institutions and everybody have their money, that's when they'll put it out to the public. It's not going to be right now. And they're not going to mainstream media the altcoin market when it hasn't even breached its highs. They'll do it when it breaches its highs. That's when massive FOMO kicks in. Kaito being one of the internet search engine savior, saying that they can do it better than Google without the ads, with an AI that can assist you in finding the projects that you want to dive on into, that won't clutter your stuff with a bunch of shield tokens from Google and what Google thinks is going to do well, or that Google's positioned and they're not going to funnel ads like that to you that influences your decision. Kaito, I think this has a very, very good narrative. I think this thing can do some massive damage. 8-hour curving over here, man. You're above the 200 MA, and I don't have it on the daily yet because, you know, you're a very, very new project. Skeptically, man, this is a bull flag, right? Or speculating, man. This is a bull flag. Pushing to the upside. I like the 21 coming up in the price action. I could see another couple of sideways action days. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Kaito will, if the market rips, Kaito will catch up to the market, in my opinion, right? Again, I think a likelihood up to about the $2.03 can move. And, you know, you got to think of it like that, too. If the entire market blows up 20%, and Kaito goes sideways, and on Monday or Tuesday after this 8-hour consolidation, Saturday night, this is Saturday night right here. I'll take that back. I'll take back my statement. You know, you go into the weekend and we get that price. Everything's pointing to me to Saturday night. Everything's pointing, in my mind, to Saturday night after President Xi comes in and after a good amount of time. And I think it's going to happen. This is me speculating. I think it's going to happen late at night, maybe when the Americans are sleeping, when I'm sleeping. I'm not going to be sleeping, baby. I will be sleeping, but I'm going to have my trading view alerts on, and it's going to go off. It's going to sound like gunfire next to my nightstand. I know it. My lady's going to wake up, and she's going to be like, "What are you doing? I work in the morning." But it's going to sound like, and I'm going to be like, "Babe, my magic internet money is pumping, baby. My magic internet money is pumping to the upside. Can you believe this? Come on over to the computer." And then she's going to hit me with a pillow and tell me to go back to bed. But it's going to be an amazing thing, and I'm going to be there quietly on my phone. I'm going to be there quietly on my phone, reducing my brightness to the minimum that Android allows, which is surprisingly a very, very bright setting. So I'll be using like a little pillowcase and stuff to kind of, you know, stay in there. But it'll be awesome. It'll be awesome, baby. I will have my alerts set on TradingView. I will be tweeting throughout the night. Even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and we get that break, I'm telling you, if we break the all-time high, I'll post. All-time high, everybody. And I'm going to post it like 3-4 times in a row. And I'm going to like it all, each individual one myself, to try and push that to each and every single person that's out there that's searching, oh my gosh, all-time high. The Asian markets do that, and it takes the Americans off guard. The American public wakes up on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, and they're looking at their phones, and they don't know what to do. I think that's a recipe for success, man. And it's just speculating. I know I'm doing a lot of speculating tonight, but you're getting to that point. You're getting to that point, right? We're essentially, I would argue, you've had 1, 2, 3. I could count the candles, less than 10 candles that have closed above this price for BTC. Less than 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 candles. This was the 10th candle. This is the 11th candle that is closed above $102,600, $700. There is less than 2 weeks of price action in this zone. Very, very important for us to acknowledge that and understand that we're getting very, very close to an all-time high break. All right, everybody. Man, that's some fun stuff. I love going over that. 15-minute getting a little bit of a negativity right there. A little bit of a negativity, but it's okay. It's okay. All right, let's look at the hot ones of the day. I'm not going to look at Hex. It's project, man. I don't know. There was like a billionaire investor that got in here, and it's been struggling ever since. I don't really like the Hex chain or Pulse chain or any of those. It's just not something that's in my investing portfolio, and something that I don't give financial advice, but I'm not going to say stay away from, but I'm not well versed on it enough to understand the project and where I think it's going to go in the future, if it does have a potential future at all. So I just don't really like going over Hex. I'll be honest with you guys. That's just straight honest. Trump coin ripping to the upside, right? And likely so. Why? Because Trump's meeting with President Xi, likely going to get some publicity this weekend, and people love that for Trump. Also, the dinner coming up for Trump. People want that top 200 tokens holder spot. Jupiter, one of my favorite projects in the game, was a shame to see it down here at 35 cents. You got to think of it like this now. You're up 60% if you got in some there. And an asset that I do stake, and I have some stake Jupiter. It's pretty cool, the ASR, the active staking rewards feature that they have, and some other projects have taken suit with that. So Jupiter, baby, let's take a look at Jupiter. And I'm going to look at this as non-biasedly as possible, because again, I own this coin, right? I own this coin. But Jupiter, look at this 8-hour, man. That looks beautiful. All right. So the first thing I'm seeing here for Jupiter, you do have this shoulder, head, right shoulder. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, that crank to the upside. I love the slants. Why do I love the slants? Because the slants do indicate a more, or if it was slanted the other way, it would look a lot better. But I love the slant here. I think Jupiter's going for a squeeze. I have proof, everybody. We've never been down here before. You're getting to an area, right, where you're above that previous support, right? You're above this previous support on the project's inception back in 2024, and you're getting above the high volume node or point of control that has formed down here. You're above that. Where are you likely to go? You're likely to squeeze up here to 80 cents. I think it happened very, very quickly for Jupiter. I think this could be one of the coins that massively squeezes to the upside, especially if Solana keeps her. I will say this, Jupiter will likely outperform Solana to the upside in the event Solana gets its bump and run. I think that is very, very likely. The daily curving down, you crack that daily, and you can be back up very, very quickly on Jupiter. Man, this 4 hour looks absolutely beautiful, cracking the highs. You've changed market structure. Look at this. Higher high right here, or equal high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Where's your next higher low likely to come in if you are going to get a higher low for Jupiter? And I'm not saying it's going to pull back now. It could pull back later, but what I would do, if you're looking for an entry on Jupiter, no matter how high this goes, you pull your fib, and you're like, all right, my next low, say we get up here to about 70 cents. I'm looking to get in Jupiter around 52 cents. You get that next higher low, right? Higher high, higher low, and that's what price will do. It'll do that to the upside, baby. These rallies aren't going to be a straight upward direction, with the exception of this weekend. This gap is very powerful. You can get that gap through, and I think that's very, very likely there for Jupiter. And even the Solana chain, man, I think everything's going to absolutely monumentally rip in the event Bitcoin can hold where it is. Let's look at Bitcoin on the smaller time frame. So right now, I was speculating on a flag on the 2 hour, and I still am, right? I still am. I could still hold that thesis on the 4 hour. I'm going to put it like this on the 4 hour, right? I like this a little better on the 4 hour. I'm going to give this thing some time to consolidate. And, you know, I think tomorrow could be a relatively volatile day. We break the bottom of this, I'd be looking for it to come to the 21 down here at about 99.5. Isn't that crazy? Oh, you know, that's our first support zone, 99.5. So we got 99.5. And we have down here. Yeah, man, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. I'm liking what I'm seeing. You're above this previous support resistance, then you have the high volume nodes. So this is likely the range that we're going to see this weekend. We could see some massive chop over the course of the weekend. It is true. We could see some massive, massive chop over the weekend with Trump and President Xi diving on in and potentially make a trade deal. I want to keep that on everybody's radar. All right, let's dive on in. Quant, Permu, DEXE. Are they dead? What happened to Quant, man? I thought Quant was pumping. Quant is pumping. QNT, right? Yeah, so Quant got above the daily 200 SMA. We talked about this, right? We talked about this last week, I think, or a couple days ago. Quant got above the daily 200 SMA. I did highlight some zones of interest here, right, from the previous runs. I will say this. Not a good look, a good look on any asset, regardless of the bounce that you got, because I know people are like, wow, look, what if this thing goes back to the highs? There's not really a lot of evidence that supports that it will. Look, you made a lower high, a lower low, a lower high. Man, I'd say you're living on a prayer right here for Quant. Right? Because despite Bitcoin's price action, Bitcoin being at $100,000 and Bitcoin was at 60K back here, why are you still at a 70% retrace from years ago? And I know a lot of the altcoins are like that, but I'm talking about a lot of the altcoins that are relatively new to the space, right? Getting pullbacks like this. Quant should have, to me, gotten its move by now. With that being said, you're above the daily 200. Last time you did that, you got that monumental squeeze to the upside. I think that is very, very likely here for Quant as you break above the 200 MA. That point of control, though, staring at you right in the face here. Let's see where it comes in at. The point of control sitting at 102. That will be an area likely for a reaction to occur. The area where the most amount of Quant has exchanged hands. Just something that I'm tracking. So Quant, baby, Quant looks okay for continuation to the upside with the rest of the altcoin market. Do I think it revisits the highs? Remains to be seen, but I'm not tracking that for Quant. I don't think Quant's going to go back and revisit the highs after it's struggled so much. Even as Bitcoin's gone on these rallies up to, reclaimed 60K. Bitcoin was at 60K here, and Bitcoin was at 60K here. Bitcoin's at 100K, and you're here for Quant. Over the course of the project's life, and I say the same thing about Cardano, right? Like, are you really going to come back to the highs? Is there enough market momentum for that to happen? There's so many new projects in the space that show, in my opinion, a little more prowess. I like Quant. I really do. I think it can make a great run. I think it can make a great run, right? I still think there's an easy double up on Quant. I think Quant can come back up here to 186. But is Quant going to return to the highs up here at about, $451 from where it stands? It could happen. It's just not something that I'm tracking in my portfolio, man. It's not one of the stronger coins in the game, in my opinion. And for that reason, like the Shark Tank, for that reason, I'm out, right? Yeah. So interesting for quant. But with that being said, you got a monumental move off the lows, man. Just like the rest of the altcoin market, 56% to the upside. What a move for quant. QNT, not American. QNT, not American. QNT. QNT. Okay, I'm getting... much love, guys. You're going to have to elaborate on that. If I type QNT, not American, I don't know. QNT. You had to elaborate. High old QNT, I think it's a great one to hold. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that think that about the project, right? But to me, I'm being very, very selective about my altcoins, right? And I guarantee you guys don't hold all the altcoins that I hold, and I don't hold all the altcoins you hold. You guys know about my portfolio, what I hold. I'm a big SUI. I'm big into SUI. I'm big into virtuals. I'm big into render. I'm big into a lot of the I'm big into those plays, baby. I'm big into those. Those are my top 3 holdings in the altcoin market right now. I was in Ethereum, rotated my Ethereum and dispersed them among those 3. I have a couple other alts, but much less. I own some Cardano. I own a little bit of Cardano. I own a little bit of an XRP on a ledger. Not a lot. But that's pretty much the extent of my altcoin portfolio. I have a very few. Oh, and Ondo. Ondo's my number 2 altcoin holding. I don't know how I forgot about it. Ondo's my number 2 altcoin holding. So those 4, SUI, Ondo, Render, and what was the last? Virtuals. Those are the big ones that I hold. Do I think a lot of the altcoins in the space are going to do monumental? Yeah, absolutely. But after my hundreds of hours of research and trying to jump on the fastest horse for this altcoin market, those are the sectors that I think are going to outperform, and the sectors where I'm choosing to keep my my money in for the altcoins. With that being said, Bitcoin's still number 1 investment. I think Bitcoin in the long term is going to outperform everything. I can't guarantee any of those altcoins I just listed. SUI, SUI. And you can say this for quant too. SUI, Ondo, all those. I don't know if those XRP, Ethereum. I don't know if those are going to be around. I don't know. Maybe Ethereum will be because it's established such a reputable stance in the space. I can't say that they're going to be around forever. But in my mind, mentally hasn't grasped that some of these assets will be around forever. Why? Because look at 2017. What are the same ones that are in the 5 of the top 10 projects are completely different, and some of them that are in the top 10 aren't even in the top 100 anymore. I don't know what Zcash is. Zcash used to be a top 10 coin. Zcash, baby, it really did. And can Zcash do some massive damage? Yeah, I definitely can, but this thing used to be the hottest thing since sliced bread, making some of the biggest moves back in 2017. But now, you could go on the weekly chart, and you haven't seen and this doesn't even go back, right? Because people weren't leverage trading at this time, right? On Zcash, or not on Binance anyway. Let's see where Zcash goes. Capital.com, does that have it? Or Gemini will probably have it. Nope. Zcash is old. That's all I'm trying to say. Zcash is old. Bitfinex, no. Kraken. Crypto.com. No, that's not even that old. It is. Okay, cool. No. Maybe. Hold on. Let's zoom on in here. All right, so Zcash. This used to be a top 10 coin. This was 2017. Zcash used to trade. Why does it keep doing that? Look at that scam wick. All right. Let's look at this here. Why is this? All right, we're going to zoom on in here. This is 2017 for Zcash. And this shows you the volatility of the altcoin market, man. I don't know if this is a scam wick, but this had to have been a scam wick. But in 2017, Zcash was trading at $902. Do I see Zcash revisiting those numbers? No, absolutely not. I don't know if the team's not there, but there's a lot of hotter, newer products in the space that I think are going to make moves like Zcash made back in 2017. But to me, I don't ever see this thing revisiting its highs. But this coin, you don't even see it anymore. Where is it at? Zcash, baby, outside of the top 100 at 104. This used to be a top 10 coin. So I think the narratives can change. Peanut the squirrel is up 82% today. Man. What? I'm not going to look at that. That'll tilt me. But yeah, so it's just interesting to see how the narratives shift. That's why I have a few eggs in my basket. I don't have one egg in my basket, but I have a few. I don't even have a dozen eggs, man. I have like 8 eggs. I have 8 eggs, Bitcoin and some altcoins. 8 eggs. That's all I have. I have my 8 eggs. And all I need is for one of those eggs to do monumentally well like I perceive them to do. Like SUI does monumentally well. honestly, it could set me up for retirement, man. like Bitcoin does monumentally well this cycle. I don't think Bitcoin's going to set me up for retirement, but Bitcoin is my retirement, baby. So ultimately, at the end of this cycle, when we enter the bear market, I'm going to be all in Bitcoin, baby. I'm going to be all in Bitcoin. I'm going to sell out my altcoins. I'm going to have that much more Bitcoin. I'm going to use the capital that I gained through trading to invest in Bitcoin on the way down. And I'm just going to get more Bitcoin and more Bitcoin and more Bitcoin until I'm looking at the Bitcoin price and it says $10 million, which I believe it's going to go there by the time I get to retirement age, or even by the time I'm 40 in the next 10 to 15 years. I think it could be potentially reach that $10 million price target. And you know what? I'm going to be looking at it on there and be like, of all the moves we made, all I cared about was accumulating more Bitcoin. And now that I'm staring at Bitcoin at $10 million, don't need to work anymore. Don't need to do anything anymore. The retirement account, not only the retirement account, man, that just the net worth would be so high to where I could live life the way I want to, man. I could live life the way I want to, provide a great life for my kids and stuff, my family, and that's ultimately what I want to do with this space. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to be like, man, I want to drive a Bugatti one day. And some of you guys maybe teach your own, but I'm not here like, man, I want to get in there and drive that Bugatti, the hot car, down to the club and do the whip nay. Like I'm not. That's not what I'm here in the market for. I'm here to set up not only my family, my kids. And stuff like that, but my immediate family, I don't want my mom working anymore, man. I don't want my mom to have to worry about finances anymore. My family, this space could get not just my immediate family, but my entire family, like my new family that I'm in right now, like out of every kind of financial struggle that anybody's in. That's what I want to do with this money from this space. All right, diving on in. Hey, MH, you bring up a great point, brother. So for those of you who don't know what ISO 22 is, ISO 2022 is a compliance standard. And there are only a couple coins, right? It's a standard for financial messaging. There's a lot of things that kind of speak into, there's a lot of things that dive on in and try to get ISO 2022 compliant, but there's only a couple things that have. For example, Swift is ISO 2022 compliant. I believe Chainlink became 2022 compliant, I want to see a list. How does ISO, what banks, what coins will run in ISO 2022? I thought Chainlink was. No, it didn't. All right, so 8 coins have already met the ISO 2022 standard. XRP, Stellar Lunens, XDC, Algorand, IOTA, Hedera, HGraph, that's HBAR, Quant, and Cardano. Yeah, and oh, that's cool. I didn't know XRP and XLM were members of the ISO 2022 standardization body. That's cool. So this is a compliance standard, right? And if you want mass adoption, you're going to have to get governments on board, right? You can get institutions on board. That's like level 1, but getting governments on board, federal money is something that really can rip coins to the upside like nothing else. And ISO 2022 is a select standard for, sending money and transacting money around the world, financial messaging, if you will. So there are a couple coins that do fall into that category, XRP being the top coin in that narrative, and we'll see how it plays out. I thought for sure Chainlink was in that, or maybe Chainlink applied and didn't get through yet. That's very interesting, very interesting. So yeah, I think ISO 2022 could do really, really good. Or 20022 can do very, very good. I think the narrative can be hot. I really think it can. I think like a lot of the ISO 2022 coins, I think they show a lot of promise. And I think you're in the early stages when it comes to belief in the system, right? For all those people who rode XRP to 50 cents to $2 or $3, those people had early conviction, right? I don't think the masses are in that yet. I mean, there's some massive FOMO that came on into the space, but I think the being ISO 2022 compliant can definitely be a very huge beneficiary when you're getting your not only ETFs approved, but other governments buying on into your project. So that's very, very interesting. And as long as they have a real world application, I think RWA, real world application coins, things that can actually change the way like we think and we go about life, I think are the coins that are going to massively outperform. What did Uber do to the taxi? It wrecked it, right? That's what XRP is trying to do to the banks, essentially. So if XRP does fulfill that, right? Uber was a fantastic, right? When did Uber come? Uber ISO IPO. The biggest first day dollar. What is that? Marketing the biggest first day dollar loss in U.S. history. Interesting. Yeah, like Yahoo Finance likes to do these things. $1,000 in Uber, you know, where it stands now. Good, so do a double up, right? But Uber did an immaculate thing to the transportation space. I've used Uber. I'm sure you guys have used Uber / Lyft / other one of those companies. Why? Because the taxis were too expensive, right? Services were so expensive. And now XRP saying, oh, I can do the same thing in a different way and cheaper and more convenient for you. If that narrative does kick off and Brad Garlinghouse does what he says he's going to do, then that coin could absolutely rip to the moon. I really do think it can. I don't think you're going to get to $100 or $1,000, not this cycle. No way. I saw somebody on X today. This was so funny, man. This is so. Let me show you guys this. I don't know if it's playing, but this is the stuff I'm talking about. This is the stuff I'm talking about. I'm not making fun of this. Whatever. Whatever. Maybe I will. Here, let me see. This is my brother, man. This is my brother. Nope. Okay, I have no idea where it's at. Where did I share that from? I have no idea. But it was essentially this guy being like, so when do I think XRP will hit $10,000 when the government starts buying? And I think that's going to be around 2026/2027. You're telling me that you're going to get a $70 trillion market cap? That's twice as big as our national debt. I don't even know if that's right with the calculator, because I did the calculator and there's so many zeros that it went way past $1 trillion, right? So the odds of XRP getting there are essentially zero, but people are shilling that, and that video had tens of thousands of likes and views, and seeing that I think is just degeneracy in the space. Do I think XRP is going to do well? Yeah, I think XRP is going to do amazing, and you're right, MH. That narrative can massively take off, but not to that effect. There's not enough money in the world for that to happen, or in these markets currently for that to happen. When you're talking about a $70 trillion market cap, you're talking about an economy that is bigger than what currently, I think the stock market is currently, what's the stock market currently valued at? Yeah. Oh man, that number doesn't help. 1, 2, 3. 44 trillion. So you're saying that guy's saying essentially, yeah, we're going to be bigger than double the size of the United States total economy, the biggest economy in the world. I just don't think it's likely. Could it happen? Sure, I guess anything can happen in crypto. I said that before, but seeing people shill that really, really makes me upset, man. It frustrates me because I know they're just asking people to get wrecked. It's going to be a game of chicken, playing the game of chicken and see who hits the sell button at the top, because ultimately it's an asset and people just want to make more money, right? People don't really care about XRP. People don't care about the technology. They care about making money. And you don't do that until you hit the sell button. When you start multiplying over and over and over again and you don't hit the sell button at all, or at least remove your initial investment, the risk on the table is so high. And for XRP, like getting an answer of this, right? The answer, where is it? XRP. I know I'm going a little off the charts right here, but I just, just something, I love you guys. I like speculating with you guys. Yeah. So this move back here up to 330, right? This move, what happened? I just don't know. Was Brad Garlinghouse? I don't think Brad Garlinghouse was in charge. When did Brad Garlinghouse take over? Brad Garlinghouse took over in January of 2017. So Brad was here. Brad was here during this move. What's different this time? Oh, okay, you could say the SEC lawsuit, but the SEC lawsuit didn't hit it until up here in what, 2019, 2021? Or 2020, 2021? So what happened? What happened to XRP? Like, was this a bull market top and we just retraced that? You were trading at a $330. You were trading at a valuation at one point. XRP was more valuable by market cap than Bitcoin. A lot of people don't know that. So what happened back here? This just shows the risk of chasing green candles, and the masses are going to get out in here and here and here and at that wick, and some soul is going to buy there at the top and never make money on XRP. And the only people who have made money are the people who got in down here, right? So that's the danger of chasing green candles. I just diving on in I'm not saying XRP is not going to do well. I think XRP is going to do monumentally well, especially when that high is taken out, right? It looks very, very similar to the total 3 chart. And you can say, oh, that's a double bottom. Sure, but it looks very, very similar to the total 3 chart. We came up to the high once, came up to the high twice, retraced, and now once you come up and crack that high, I think you're going to go on a Valhalla mission to the upside. I think $7, $8 XRP is on the table. The weekly stochastic RSI is reset, ready to go. Yeah, I think that's very, very likely for XRP. I think XRP is going to move higher. The first level in the sand is exactly where you came to here on the 4-hour time frame. And we talked about this level over and over and over again, did we not? That $2.41 level, that point of control. The bears have still, to me, in my opinion, have control, right? The bears still have control here. Why? Because we came with a high volume node and immediately rejected the area where the most amount of XRP. Woo! Some outrageous claims out there. Yeah, MH, I know, man. I know. And I know you guys, I know a lot of you guys are watching the channel, you know, understand that, but there's one, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people that don't, right? So it's just something that's really important. And a lot of people just hate hearing that. I know, man. But I don't think Bitcoin's going to go to 10 million this cycle. Do I think Bitcoin's going to go to 10 million? Yes. Do I think Bitcoin's going to potentially go higher than that? Yes, I do. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. Kathy Wood gave a $750,000 prediction by 2030. She said that's where ARK Invest is aiming their ties. That's where they think that the price is going to be in just 5 years. A $750,000 Bitcoin. That's a 7x from where we are. That's more than a 7x from where we are. That's a 7.5x from where we are. If Bitcoin does that, imagine what some of the strongest altcoins in the space are going to do. And if that happens, the market will be so much bigger. So much bigger. And a $2 XRP will look like absolutely nothing. You'll see this asset trading at 10, 20, potentially 30 bucks, right? If Bitcoin makes that move, everything follows Bitcoin. But still, I have to admit, being under that high volume node and rejecting there on the day is a little concerning for XRP. And we went over my trade plan for XRP. I'm not touching XRP until we get above this high volume node in a retest. That's what I'd like to see for continuation and higher prices. Until the bulls can prove to me that they own 241, and without question, they own and dominate 241. You know, it's like in jail. You get in jail, you got to show dominance, baby. Show me dominance here. Show me dominance. Get above 241 and let the bulls reclaim that, baby. Let the bulls reclaim that, and then that would be considered taking a long trade to the upside and seeing higher prices for XRP. There's a lot of people that would just say, of course it's going to do that. I've been in the game long enough to be like, nothing's a certainty. Nothing's a certainty. You do have a little bit of a cup and handle here. I do see that break out to the upside. But that high volume node has been resistance once, twice, 3 times. You tried to get above it. You did, and then fell immediately back below. The 4th time, and the high volume node stood here where the bears took control. And this is a previous support resistance flip here at this high volume node as well. Notice from back here at around mid-February. So that's a very, very interesting zone. That's a zone of interest for me that I'll be tracking over the next coming days and weeks. This is a daily time frame. So we can see this throughout the weekend. You break above the high volume node, you can do the ball rolling down the hill scenario, and XRP can catch up to the market, doing a little lackluster of a performance comparatively to the rest of the market. I will be honest. When you get above that high volume node, you can see XRP catch up back up to the market very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. All right. Let's dive on in, baby. Let's dive on into the chat. I appreciate you guys being here. MH and Sin Nasty Kid, I appreciate you guys jumping on into the chat and hanging out with me tonight, man. I appreciate you guys. Permu and DEXE, are they dead? Yeah, there's gonna be winners and losers this cycle. I will be honest, and I'll be honest. I don't know what Permu and DEXE are. I have seen them being losers on the bubble right here. Like, look at what is this layer AI? Oh, this is Sol Layer. Ah, yes, Sol Layer. Everybody, that's crazy. That's crazy. Down 56% today. So. Look at that. Everything back in the green. And you got to take bubbles with a grain of salt. Some things are going to overperform, right? Look at Sui. Thank God. Getting a little bit of a bounce. Rooney there at the bottom of the flag. Solana doing well. And a little bit of the rest of the market taking a little bit of a hit. But hey, it is what it is. So it's going to be interesting. This weekend's going to be interesting. Don't be surprised if we see another couple of days looking like this. And I think that the altcoin move that you guys have just seen is just the tip of the iceberg. When we get that dominance true rollover, which we're getting a little bit on the daily, and we start seeing that weekly capitulate, and that divergence plays out for dominance, we're going to see a capitulation like you guys have never seen. The altcoins will melt up like butter. Resistance levels will become less prevalent as the price and the bulls in the retail enter the space. It's going to be absolutely crazy. All right, diving on in. Yeah, Chainlink ISO 2022. Yeah, absolutely. Don't use Uber in Las Vegas. That's the only way I got around Las Vegas, man. Yeah, Turbo for Sin Nasty Kid. Yeah, man, let's dive on into it. I only used Ubers in Las Vegas. I'll be honest with you guys. When I go to Vegas, I very rarely leave the casino. I eat at the buffet at the Wynn. Regardless of arguments, and maybe there is an argument for a better restaurant in Las Vegas, but the buffet at the Wynn, yeah, it was super awesome. When I was there last time, the Hawks were playing in Vegas, and they came there during the summer league, and they came to eat. They came to eat at the buffet at the Wynn when I was eating there. I was like, those guys are tall, man. There was a dude, he had to have been 8 feet tall. It was absolutely crazy. And I'm not a big basketball guy. I enjoy watching the game, but I don't know any of the players or anything like that. But they're all wearing their warm-up jerseys and stuff like that. I was like, right? Oh, that was a little gay right there. I mean, you know. So not against gay people. Much love to all the gay people out there. Sin Nasty Kid, I hear you, brother. All right, so here we go. I'm just playing. All right, Turbo, baby. Turbo. Let's dive on into it. For Sin Nasty Kid. Turbo. So this is one of the hotter memes in the game, and I'll say that I've said it once. I'll say it again. On this reversal, and it's pretty evident in the space right now. The meme coins. Let me look over here on the crypto market, coin market cap. So you go to coin market cap, sort by category, memes, right? So we could look at the top 100 right here, right? And look at the last 7 days, right? Everything's doing relatively. That's crazy to see Ethereum. That's why. So for those of you who don't understand how much money was entered into Ethereum, this is equivalent of about $65 to $70 billion. That move. That's the equivalent in terms of market cap. That's insane. So you're seeing, with the exclusion of Ethereum, 10, 12, right? Let's go on over to the memes, see how the memes have done this week. Okay, 12, 41, 20, 22, 17, 24, 31. So you see a lot of double-digit gainers at 41. Good night, Pepe. That's absolutely crazy. You see a lot of double-digit gainers on the meme coins. I think these memes have the potential to absolutely rocket shot to the upside. I think will be one of the most violent movers. Granted, some of the most high-risk movers and volatile movers of the altcoin sector, but I do believe that these are going to get one of the bigger moves, right, on this reversal. So Turbo, this is a hotter coin in the game. It has a great community behind it. A lot of people believe in Turbo and what they stand for, what I love. Look at this. As you trend up, this is a bull pennant without question, in my opinion. As you're trending up in price action, your daily oscillator for the stochastic RSI is resetting. Can you ask for a better scenario than that? I couldn't. So right now you're struggling a little bit at a daily 200 SMA, but the stochastic RSI says you're ready to go. These break out violently, very, very violently. You may be coming back to a 1/10 of a penny here for Turbo from where you stand of about a 68% pump. And to tell you that this can't happen this weekend, you can see another 2 candles like this, would be an injustice to you, man. Or a disservice. That's the word, a disservice. This can happen this weekend. I'm not saying it's going to, but these memes, of all things, have the potential to squeeze massively to the upside as there is still a ton of short interest. Short. The ability to squeeze out of this is massive. You have a giant gap in the VRVP and you're above, yes, that point of control. Let me update the VRVP here. Let me update the VRVP. So, my lady just got home. So, yeah, you are above the point of control and you're playing 200 MA dominoes to the upside and you have that ball rolling down the hill scenario. You get over this hill, you're going to roll to this really, really quickly, and that's at about 9 1/10, or what do you call it? 9/10 of a penny, or 9 1/10 of a penny. Looking to come up to about a 1/10 of a penny, in my opinion, out of this bull pennant here for Turbo. It could happen. It could happen quick. I've seen it over and over and over again on bull pennants here. And, as I'm zooming in on this 4-hour time frame, you did have a little bit of shoulder, head, right shoulder that tried to break out. Now you're back inside the pattern. So what you don't want to see is a shoulder, head, right shoulder. See that to the downside? But that shoulder did wick above. So I'd kind of discredit that a little bit. But the daily looking beautiful. I want to see a close above that daily 200 SMA. So far, Turbo has not been able to prove that it's been able to get above the daily 200 SMA. Look what happened the last time you did. You closed above the daily 200 SMA and you never looked back for that bear cycle. You closed above the daily 200 SMA to the upside. Looks very, very likely for Turbo squeezing through that gap in the VRVP with the reset stochastics pointing upward and looking to get more violent as we run into the weekend. I'm telling you guys, this weekend, baby, tell your lady I said, what's up, Sean Davis? What's up, man? I will. I'll let her know. She'll know what it means. Shut up, man. Shut up. Oh, man. Yes, Chief. I'll tell you, man. But hey, what's going on, man? I'm glad that you're here. What's going on? If you're not up to date in the market, this thing has been absolutely ripping, not just Bitcoin, crypto, the altcoins all around. We put up some hot trades over on, I don't know what the heck that is. Okay, yeah, of course that is on my feed, right? Do y'all consider this cheat? Come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? But yeah, so that looks really good. This is what's normally on my, on my deal. But yeah, that is absolutely, it's been an absolute honor, right? It's been an absolute honor being here with all the people that have been joining here. We've been putting out some hot trades, Bitcoin dominance. We called the rollover to the downside, altcoin season starting. A lot of people asking a lot of questions about the space, and we're in it, man. We're in it, and I'm just super excited to be here. Super excited to be here. So shout out to you, Wanda. What's going on? You like Turbo Nasty Kid, man? I like it right now from a charting perspective, man. You're in a bull pennant right here, looking to squeeze to the upside with reset stochastics. It looks juicy to me, man. Looks juicy to me. That 200 MA looking to squeeze to the upside. Sean Davis, man. I appreciate you, man. I miss you, brother. I miss you. We're gonna try and make a trip. To South Carolina here pretty soon. So we'll be coming around the mountain. We'll see if we could schedule up some visit time, man. Some visit time. That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be great. Are you on the same ship as Ritas? That'd be so funny, man. That'd be so funny. But yeah, looks really, really good for Turbo to the upside out of this bull pennant. And it's crazy on the hour. Look at that squeeze to the upside. But most cryptos red while, some things outperform. I think this is how the weekend's going to look. There's going to be things that trade sideways, real slow, then all at once. Like form right here, real slow all day. Just in the last hour, getting that squeeze to the upside. Look at that bounce, right? Look at that bounce for form. 4-4. So that's really, really cool to see. Cool to see. So that's the 1 to 100. That's all the coins that we went over today. Haven't been here, seen her show up yet. Oh, I got you. Yeah, she'll be coming around the mountain pretty soon, man. I'm pretty sure. All right, everybody. That's going to be it for the night. I got to go say what's going on to my lady. I got to tell her that Sean Davis said, what's up? But, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for diving on in with me tonight. It's been a pleasure to serve with you guys. Man, it's just seeing Sean Davis makes me talking about that military. It's been a pleasure to serve with you. It's been an honor serving with you. That's what I did when I was leaving the military. It's been an honor. I never want to see you again. All right, it's been an honor. All right, so, yeah, it's great. But yeah, everybody, this weekend is going to be very, 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 very volatile. Highly likely as Trump comes in, talks to President Xi in the White House, potentially getting a trade deal. This thing can melt up. Bitcoin could see the all-time highs this weekend in the event that a trade deal were to be reached between the United States and China. If we do not have that, I do not think an all-time high will be hit. I think there will likely be more consolidation and maybe even a retest of this previous zone right here down at about 100,000. I think that's very likely in the event that we don't get any real positive news that comes out of the White House. That being said, Donald Trump comes out today and manipulates the market and says, buy stocks, baby. This thing's about to go up in a vertical line like a rocket. So we'll see if that does come to fruition. I'm sure he's talking about the crypto market too. Let's not forget that he's in World Liberty Financial. He is a holder of a lot of these coins, mainly in ETH, and he's made a butt ton of money today, baby. A butt ton of money. Much love to each and every single one of you. Thank you guys for jumping on in with me tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow on the live. Man, it's going to be some weekend casual action. And I'll tell you what, bring your favorite alts. We'll dive on into the smallest market cap coins you guys want to go into. I'll hop on over to Deck Screener. I'll do a little research before. I'll let you guys know. I'll see what's hot. Maybe we'll have some fun well, depending on what you guys want. But maybe we'll have some fun with the smaller market caps, baby. The smaller market caps. All right, much love, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, Boys Crypto is out, baby. We are out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining in with me tonight, and thank you for all your support. Hit that like button before you go. Hit the like button before you go. Much love.